During my time of reading the Percy Jackson and the Olympians novels, the one thing that struck me greatly was how Rick Riordan successfully alluded to physically and mentally abusive relationships without outright displaying it. While I appreciate how the first Percy Jackson movie didn't pull its punches when displaying how awful smelly Gabe was to Percy, I also understand that Rick Riordan had to be subtle when writing themes of child abuse in his books, since these are books targeted for an audience ranging from ages 11 to 16. And for me, the book that most successfully did this was The Titan's Curse, because this was the book that truly was the turning point in the series, where Percy was slowly maturing and beginning to take interest in girls, particularly his best friend, Annabeth Chase. But this was also the book that pulled Annabeth out of the equation for most of the story and put her in a situation that even her cleverness couldn't get her out of. In this video, I'm going to go into detail regarding the relationship between Luke Castellan and Annabeth Chase, and how this extremely unhealthy, abusive relationship was alluded to in the pages of The Titan's Curse, and the impact it left on Annabeth during the Battle of the Labyrinth. Now, fair warning, there will be mentions of hints and themes of child grooming here, because keep in mind, Luke in this book was 20 years old, while Annabeth was at least 14 years old. Yeah, let that sink in for you. And if you find it creepy and disgusting, good, because you should. Don't say I didn't warn you. And if the Percy Jackson television show delves into these themes, I pray to God that they handle it well. The major points that I want to hit are why people stay in relationships that are toxic and abusive. I'm going to pull up a source from a research paper I did back in Intro to Psychology class when I was in community college. It says, quote, "Partner dependency is the effective need that one partner feels toward the other throughout the relationship and how much they rely on one another for love and support. Partner dependency is related to a fear of loneliness, to excessive possessiveness and control, and to anxiety over possible rejection by the partner or abandonment." So, how does this relate to the relationship between Annabeth and Luke? Well, an easy thing to do is look at these quotations from Talia in The Last Olympian. "That was a bad night. Annabeth was so little. I don't think she understood what she saw. She just knew Luke was upset. He wanted to pick a fight with every monster we crossed. Annabeth didn't see that as a problem. Luke was her hero. She only understood that his parents made him sad, and she got very defensive of him. She still is defensive. Annabeth met Luke when she was only 7 years old. He promised he would take care of her and give her a new family. And when Annabeth swam in the Siren Bay in the Sea of Monsters, she kept wanting to swim towards them because they showed her what she most desired, to have her father and Athena back together, with Luke back at her side in a bigger, better-looking New York City, which Annabeth would build. Annabeth's pride was what led to her stubbornly believing that Luke could be saved, when in fact he didn't want to be saved. This profoundly impacted her in The Titan's Curse, when she got kidnapped by the Titan, Atlas, who was cursed to hold the weight of the sky on his shoulders. She was brought to Luke, who was holding the sky and looking so vulnerable, and Annabeth, overwhelmed by this urgent need to try saving the young man she hero worshipped and longed to be with for so long, took his place to hold the weight of the sky, only for Luke to walk away from her when she cried out for help. He just simply told her, "Try not to die," as he left her alone. Given that The Titan's Curse is told in Percy's point of view, the only glimpses we see of Annabeth in this story are in his dreams, as he watches Luke plot with Atlas while Annabeth and Artemis both suffer. And we don't even see the full extent of the mental abuse Luke probably put Annabeth through, but the conclusion I've drawn, given Annabeth's attempts at stopping Talia from throwing Luke off the side of the cliff towards the end of the story, was that Luke did and said things to try and convince Annabeth that there was still a part of him that wanted this to stop. And I truly do believe there was a small part of Luke that didn't want to partake in Kronos' plan at all. After all, Kronos tormented him with nightmares and persuaded him through dreams that once Olympus fell, the world would be better off. But still, Luke chose to go along with it no matter what little regrets he had, and he chose to go along with kidnapping Annabeth. He could have chosen otherwise, and he could have resisted a lot stronger, but the power and the glory and the prospect of overthrowing the gods blinded him. The events of the Titan's Curse only further complicated things in the Battle of the Labyrinth, where Percy was caught in a love triangle between Annabeth and Rachel Elizabeth Dare, and Annabeth was struggling to process the mental abuse Luke had put her through over the Christmas break. She was still holding on to the hope that Luke could somehow be saved, that she could change his mind and convince him otherwise. But Annabeth was blinded by love for this young man, despite how cruel, manipulative, and abusive he'd been towards her previously. There was still a part of her that felt dependent on him because he took her in when she was only 7 years old, promising to protect and care for her and give her the family that she'd been deprived of for years. So this is where the aspect of child grooming comes in. Child grooming occurs when an elder begins preparing a young child to see abuse as normal. Luke, having been many years older than Annabeth, he knew exactly what he was doing, manipulating the blossoming feelings Annabeth had for him and using her every chance he got. We saw this in the Titan's Curse when Annabeth was brought to Luke, with him begging her to save him as the weight of the world crushed him, and Annabeth, being so determined and prideful, would have done anything for him. He was grooming Annabeth into joining him in raising Kronos from the grave, trying to convince her through a series of manipulative tactics that involved persuasion and false promises. This is why I actually think I preferred the way the movies handled things in regards to the characters' ages, because by having Annabeth be 16 in the movies, that would have made her 17 by the time the Titan's Curse movie plot would have been explored, and 17 being the legal age to be romantically involved with someone in their 20s, at least in the United States. It probably would have made the abuse Luke put Annabeth through look a lot less controversial at the time, as opposed to having a 14-year-old girl being in those scenes. That being said, the way Rick Riordan alluded to Luke mentally abusing Annabeth by showing them through Percy's demigod dreams was truly pure brilliance on his part, because by not having us see it outright, that leaves us only to guess and wonder. It wasn't a graphic depiction, but hinted enough to make the reader understand that Luke wasn't entirely sane and in not a right state of mind, with Annabeth desperately trying to believe that somehow things could change. It's mentally unhealthy, and it was shown to have an impact on Annabeth, especially in the Heroes of Olympus, where she was shown to still be taking Luke's death harder than anyone's. Sure, he died a hero, but it cost Annabeth a lot, leaving her more vulnerable than ever before.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're brand new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a DC Marvel Girl video. Also be sure to check out my social media links, which I will be linking down below in the description box. God bless, happy viewing, and have a nice day.